Hello guys and good morning on Saturday morning for the track walk here at the Viborg Kart Park. Guys, I take you around one lap of this circuit and show you what it is all about. So we are going to get going obviously with the start finish straight. It is roughly a 30 to 32 seconds lap, depending whether you sit in a more of a racing cart or on a modified rental cart or in the standard rental cart in the first place. That is the three categories that we're going to have here. So we're going down onto the way to turn one. As you can see, the rubbered line from the outside going to the inside, as we also may hear the one or other cart coming by. In fact, we do have one. So he is probably doing his first ever laps because right now track should actually be closed. So this is quite dangerous what we're doing here. Anyway, we're going into turn one. Turn one is a very high speed corner. You let roll with a lot of high speed into the first out of two apexes really. And as you can see here at the curbs are really high profile, so you don't really want to touch them at all. And if that is correct, we can see right away when our colleague comes back for another lap. Here he goes. Around the curb, going a little bit wide, setting himself up for the second apex. So if we're going from that apex curb to the outside, you see that there is a line down there in the tarmac where like the next layer of tarmac has been put out. And you don't want to be too far on the outside here of that curb because of that layer, because this is where it gets bumpy. And actually this is more or less the official runoff area, so to say. So you see also on the floor, despite the rain, here are some holes inside. So whenever you go there, you're going to have a bumpy ride. And generally speaking, as you're just slightly lifting off and you see the skid marks, like just going beyond that cutted line on the tarmac. Obviously, as you go into the turn, you only just with a modified cart easing off the throttle, and you need to go very, very slowly back on it because the rear end is so much under pressure, is so much loaded. A little bit too much power can easily get the cart into a slide, and the slide in the cart looks nice, but it's just really, really slow. Right, the second apex of turn one then, and as you can see, it has rained. We want to be very much away from this one because this is where the water is going to drown down, as it also starts to drizzle again right now. So there, you want to be away from that curb. You want to be back on full power, roughly. If you look on the right hand side, you should see maybe you can't see it, but like the last biggest puddle that you can see, actually where the line of the tarmac of the second layer of tarmac ends. This is where you want to be flat out again in order to carry the maximum speed out of turn one. Don't want to be on the curbs at all. Again, these are really rattling curbs. As you can see, they have a profile if you look close to it, so they can damage your cart and so on. And as you can see here on the left hand side, people are very much going too wide here and scratching the floors of the carts on the curb. So that can really be punishing and it can really be dangerous. And on top of that, as you may see, the track is slightly bent down towards the curb. So whenever you're on the curb or close to the curb, you're gonna get sucked and pulled towards the curb. And then the big enemy, besides that hole, which makes you really gonna fly. So if you're that far off, you're in big trouble anyway. But if you're just a little bit off, you might still be in trouble, as we have this track hole. So if you dip a wheel down there and you see the scratches and skid marks right here, that can hurt your cart. As you can see, the track in the night is going to be illuminated with a couple of halogen lightning devices. There shouldn't be any dark spot really, but still all the carts gonna have attached some headlights and some rear lights for better reference. Then this is roughly the braking point for turn 2. Turn 2 is a late apex corner and is literally the start of the entire cornery part of the track. So as we can see, and I'm also walking around the ideal line here as the karts are getting out on track, because we're gonna have gridding hashtag soon. You want to stay, well, first of all, you want to be late on the apex. Once again, no touchy of the curbs. And then you want to be staying somewhat in the middle here, because the next turn is a right-hand turn, and you want to be right where the puddles are. And that's going to be interesting when it rained 4 hours ago and there's still liquid out there. So really need to be careful once the rain hits hard. You want to be really on the inside here and carry all the possible speed. This is a flat out corner for, like after turn 2, this turn 3 is a flat out corner also for the modified karts. I'm running a modified, so I can speak best of them. And then you want to go all the way up the outside, not onto the curb though, because as you can see again, the curb has been bent. And then obviously try to turn in as late as possible for this, 4 hairpins more or less. It is a good corner combination. So again here, rather late apex-ish. So if you look at the curb, this is the entirety of the curb, and you want to be best around here, I would say. This is where you want to be closest to the curb, because once again you need to somewhat stay in the middle of the track here in order to set yourself up for the left-hand turn, which then again, besides the scrapes and the graves, the graveyards, well, it's not graveyard, but you know, the holes and the gaps in the tarmac, this is where you just want to be on. And as much as you see the skid marks here on the outside lane, which is coming probably from much faster karts in the first place, like real racing karts, you want to be just about inside of that to minimize the way. Remember, rental karts, and even if they are modified, they are very, very low on power, so it's all about carrying the minimum speed. And besides minimum speed, it's also about carrying the shortest way. So you can see probably outside tire, roughly where the skid marks begin. And then for the last 3 turns, once again, late apex. And it is exactly that wet spot here where you want to position your kart in order to get a good entry for the penultimate turn, which, as you can see, has a very distinctive apex, just right about where the curbs or the curb panels have a little bit more space in between each other. You don't want to be on that curb at all, because as you can see again, there is a huge gap between in height between curb and track and tarmac. So you want to make sure to just have the wheel on the edge of the tarmac. Then you go out on the final turn. From here, it's basically flat out in the modified kart. Once again, said this a million times before. As you can see here as well, the track, and there is a gap. And if your rear tire gets sort of linked into that gap, it rumbles a lot. It slows you down. It gets your momentum caught. Like especially if you look in here, there is a huge gap between tarmac and curbs, and then we have obviously even more difference in height. So even if you then here turn in, the rear might snap, as the rear tire may lock in to that hole. Anyway, final turn, and this is a very important one, as we spoke about minimum speeds and all the momentum that you want to carry. The apex, once again, if you look at the entirety of the curb, very late, roughly about here. So if you're gonna go from here, it's just that little bit more of an exit, and then you try really carrying all the momentum, all the speed as you go out on the main straight, down the hill, This is the only spot where you can really relax. Also a little bit after turn 1, where you can relax the hands. But this is one lap here around the Viborg Kart Center, the Lovelbanen. And now we see the drivers getting ready for the 24-hour race.